Hello everyone, my name is Wittel and welcome to Kerbal Space Program Part 2, well Part 1 of this series anyways. This is the IPV lander building. This is a little bit further in the game, this is a little bit more recent. I have expanded quite a lot into my own little universe, so I simply wanted to make a vehicle that would allow me to traverse these vast distances that I have started to create. And basically I wanted to go from here to the mud and transport stuff and not have to worry about not coming back, because that's happened quite a lot, twice actually now. So this is what I'm building. As you can see, this is a pretty basic setup. I have the lander, or the hitchhikers thing, which stores I think 4 Kerbals. My observation station for my one main Kerbal. You see me just add in a bunch of control, RCS. I'm using atomic motors because those are actually the most efficient. Albeit I'm using 12, and that's probably not the most efficient setup, but they're still the most efficient motors to use in space, not getting out of space at least. But once you're in space, in vacuum, they are phenomenally adequate motors. So that's what I'm doing. I'm setting them up. And this is more or less what the basic IPV is going to look like. It's, you know, basic 4 setup, got those solar panels, got a good amount of fuel on it, has a senior docking port. You know, there's no juniors on it because I don't want them to be in the way of the engines or be on the sides, ideally, because that'd just be wrong and they cause a lot of torque, and I just don't want that. So this is basically the most basic design, most reliable design I can think of. At least for me. I'm sure you could go down to 3 if you wanted to, or down to 2, but I like the idea of 4. I like the symmetry of it. I could add, and I have 4 add-on vehicles that I'll eventually get to that I want to add on to this, and it made the most sense to me to do this. And that's basically the build. Now I'm just into the aspect of trying to get it out into space. So I'm going to see you on the launch pad next, once this is all said and done. Alrighty then, on the launch pad, physics is already kicked in. Don't know why I'm delaying, but I'm delaying nonetheless, and then I take off there. Excuse the sound, it's 3 times fast. This is a basic orbit. I always do that. It's kind of a habit. Just gonna, you have to look at the engines. I set up my asparagus. I set up my asparagus incorrectly. As a result, that's why 2 motors dropped, and 2 motors continue to fly out past me. And this is also the reason why when those 2 motors go out, I just leave the other 2 on, because I don't want to cause a catastrophic failure, and also I don't want to lose the fuel that's in them. So ultimately, this is not the most efficient design to be using, but it's the one I used, and it is. So those 2 now run out. Drop them, drop the weight, and then this is our basic setup. As you can see, I'm trying to make sure that the apex? I'll say apex because I know that apex is constantly going away in time, not decreasing. Those 2 go away, I drop those. If it's constantly going away, you're not reaching the height of your turn, which means you're still increasing it, and that's ultimately what you want. You want to be chasing that apex, which is which is fine. So this goes all well and dandy. And then eventually we get to the point where we're going to do our circularizing burn. So here we are, we're at that point. Those 2 engines drop out of fuel. I drop them, lose the weight. See that one engine, I'm like, that's not enough. Oh, I still have a good 70,000. Let's fire up those other engines. That happens. As you can see, all the shielding being thrown away actually threw off the outermost engines on each portion. So by staging, I just lost 4 engines. Not the most ideal situation that you want to be in. I end up canceling this flight, and going back into the building process, and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with this, trying to figure out how to get around this. So I'm just looking at it, and then I think I decide that those decouplers with all the shielding, those need to go. So I take off this engine and then just take off all the decouplers and just get rid of them. And then how do I get it back? I just put it back on, and then that they have no way to decouple, and on top of that, the shielding comes back. So I'm in a bit of a predicament here. So now I'm looking at the entire rocket. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I end up scrapping the idea of putting them under, clear out away those other excess struts, and I decide to just do the same idea, but do it around the base of the rocket, since there's all that room. And because of that, I come up with this design, which this is me just adding this the fuel lines for the asparagus staging. But this is ultimately what I use, and what I will almost always use now to get into the atmosphere, because this thing just goes like a bat out of hell. As you can see, this thing just climbs in velocity. I am so used to these engines overheating at 150,000. By the time this thing reached 200, it still had a bit of time left in it. You can see I'm already starting to lower my throttle, which means I'm saving that much. So I'm at 200. I'm at 200 meters per second, and I still have all of my stages. All of them, and all of them have fuel in it. I'm already at half throttle now. Overheat's gone, that's fine. We're almost out of the first stage. Drop those, they're gone, and then we stay in this for quite a while. And then after that, it is a fairly routine up into orbit, which once we're up into orbit, this thing is phenomenal. This is actually about where we start our circularizing burn. This is where we start to circularize our orbit. As you can see, we're already lined up. Time's counting down. We should start pretty apparently I'm doing it up. There we go. Final adjustments. So I decide, hey, we're already up. Might as well test it. Fire up the atomic engines and make sure that they all work. It seems like they all do. Now, I saw nothing fly out. I think I start to look around. I check the fuel. It's chewing through fuel. Not ideally. It's chewing through faster than I would like it, but, you know, it's 12 rockets. Any other 12 rockets I would put on there would not do what they're doing. So I'm perfectly content with how this is using its fuel. So, as I said before, nothing catastrophic, nothing horrendously bad. I decided to fire it up, so try to get me into a better orbit. And it ends up working out pretty well. We're circularized. I cut throttle, double check my apexes and my descending point, and they're pretty much exactly where I want them to be. Check around, make sure the fuel's good, everything has fuel still, there's no major issues with any of the structure, the fuel lines are still in place, the solar panels are still there, and everything works out fairly well. I just start doing the monotonous fuel transfer to equal everything up, and then we get to the exciting part of extending the solar panels. It's so much fun. Not really, but it's good to see. It's good to see the entire project coming along. To see the evolution of it is nice. Is nice to see as you continue through these projects. So I'm just checking it out now, trying to get all the solar panels all fancy. I am very, very satisfied with this build. It has been a phenomenal success. I had the one mix-up in the beginning, but otherwise I basically started this from scratch. And in about an hour and a half, I have I have a functioning IPV, but I don't have a complete IPV. But I have the core of it. I have everything that I need to be up there, for the most part. And it's in a stable orbit, and it's also in pair with my other station, so I mean, you know, oh crap moment arises, we can hopefully help it at that point. So, now that we're up there, I decide we need to give this a good name. So I could be lame and leave it as it is, the IPV Core Mark II, which is what it was. But I decided, no, you know, it's the first legitimate IPV up there. I still want to have the IPV for indication as to what it is when I'm out in the galaxy and such, but it's the first IPV up there, and then I come up with, on a wing, what I think is the most phenomenal code name for this, the Shadow Wolf. And that will forever be this ship's perfect name, is the Shadow Wolf. On the fly, I am very, 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 very satisfied with the project. I am very, 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 very satisfied with the name. Everything is working out perfectly. And in future episodes, I will be bringing up a personnel transport, a tug transport, and everything else that is needed to make this thing a true IPV. So, it's up in space. That's the end of this video. As always, stay safe, and I will see you all in the next one. Happy flying.